the actress. A whirlwind of fame, insecurity, and fleeting connections. She was a star. The world knew her face. Her name graced screens big and small. Yet behind the dazzling smile and confident persona, a storm raged within. Fame had come at a price. Insecurity gnawed at her. A string of toxic relationships had left her jaded. She sought solace in the fleeting validation of social media. Her TikTok feed became a carefully curated highlight reel. Parties, glamorous events, and a constant stream of admirers painted a picture of blissful perfection. But the truth was far more complex. The likes and comments couldn't silence the whispers of doubt. Behind the carefully constructed facade, she craved authenticity. Years of superficial encounters left her longing for something real, but her past had taught her to protect her heart. Vulnerability was a weakness she couldn't afford, so she played the game, hiding her true self behind a mask of cool indifference. The cycle continued. She drifted from one meaningless connection to the next, each encounter leaving her emptier than before. The bright lights and adoring fans couldn't fill the void within. Deep down, she yearned for a love that transcended the superficial, a connection that saw beyond the fame and into her soul. Little did she know, fate had a plan. A chance encounter was about to change everything. The psychology enthusiast, a naive soul seeking genuine connection in a world of facades. He was a student of the human mind. Psychology was his passion, a lens through which he sought to understand the complexities of human behavior. He devoured books, attended lectures, and spent hours analyzing the intricacies of human interaction. Yet, for all his knowledge, he remained remarkably naive. He believed in the inherent goodness of people. Cynicism and manipulation were foreign concepts to him. He saw the world through rose-colored glasses, trusting easily and assuming the best in others. This made him vulnerable in a world where appearances often masked ulterior motives. He yearned for a love that ran deeper than surface-level attraction. He dreamt of a connection built on mutual understanding, shared values, and genuine affection. A relationship where vulnerability was met with empathy, not exploitation. He navigated the world with an open heart, often mistaking fleeting infatuation for genuine connection. His friends teased him about his idealism, warning him that his trusting nature would inevitably lead to heartbreak. But he refused to be jaded. He believed that somewhere out there, amidst the chaos and superficiality, his soulmate awaited. A twist of fate. When their paths collide, a spark ignites, defying the odds and logic. In the digital age, connections are made and broken with a swipe. Dating apps have become the modern-day matchmakers, connecting strangers with the promise of love, companionship, or at the very least, a fleeting distraction. It was in this virtual realm that their paths first crossed. Two souls, worlds apart, yet strangely drawn to one another. He was immediately captivated by her beauty. Her profile, a carefully curated collection of glamorous photos, hinted at a life less ordinary. She, in turn, was intrigued by his thoughtful messages. He wasn't intimidated by her fame, choosing instead to engage with her on an intellectual level. Their initial conversations were a breath of fresh air. He saw past the celebrity facade, recognizing a kindred spirit beneath the surface. She, for the first time, felt seen for who she truly was, not the carefully constructed persona she presented to the world. As they shared their thoughts, dreams, and vulnerabilities, a spark ignited. It was a connection that defied logic, a pull neither of them could explain. Could this be the real thing, the love they had both been searching for? Or was it merely a fleeting infatuation destined to crash and burn under the weight of their vastly different worlds? Virtual beginnings, real feelings. A whirlwind of late-night texts and shared dreams kindles a powerful connection. Days turned into nights as they lost themselves in conversation. Text messages filled their screens, each ping a jolt of excitement. They talked about everything and nothing, their shared laughter echoing through the digital void. He found himself captivated by her quick wit and sharp intelligence, discovering a depth beneath the glamorous facade. She, in turn, was drawn to his genuine warmth and unwavering optimism. He listened with an attentiveness she had never experienced before, making her feel seen and understood for the first time in a long time. With him, she could let down her guard, revealing glimpses of the vulnerable heart she kept hidden from the world. Late-night conversations stretched into the early hours of the morning. They shared their dreams, their fears, their hopes for the future. He painted vivid pictures of his aspirations, his passion for psychology igniting a spark in her own soul. She confided in him about the pressures of fame, the loneliness that lingered beneath the surface of her glamorous life. Each conversation chipped away at the walls she had so carefully erected around her heart. He was different. He saw her, not the actress, not the social media persona, but the woman beneath it all. And for the first time in a long time, she dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, this could be something real. First date, lasting impression. Their first date, a blend of awkward charm and undeniable chemistry, deepens their bond. The anticipation was palpable as they planned their first date. He, a bundle of nervous energy, meticulously researched restaurants, wanting everything to be perfect. She, used to the glitz and glamour of Hollywood events, found herself oddly flustered at the prospect of a simple dinner date. They settled on a cozy Italian restaurant, tucked away from the prying eyes of paparazzi and adoring fans. He arrived early, fidgeting in his seat, second-guessing his every thought. She walked in, radiating an aura of effortless beauty that took his breath away. The initial awkwardness melted away as they fell into easy conversation. He, usually shy and reserved, found himself making her laugh with his self-deprecating humor and genuine warmth. She, used to being the center of attention, was captivated by his attentiveness, the way his eyes lit up when she spoke. Time seemed to stand still as they savored each other's company. They talked for hours, their conversation flowing effortlessly from light-hearted banter to deep, meaningful discussions. He saw a vulnerability in her eyes that contradicted her confident persona, and his heart ached to protect her from the harsh realities of the world. As the evening drew to a close, neither wanted to say goodbye. Standing under the soft glow of the streetlights, he leaned in, his heart pounding in his chest. She met him halfway, their lips meeting in a tentative kiss that sent shivers down their spines. In that moment, all doubts vanished. They had found something special, a connection that transcended their differences and ignited a fire in their souls. Public display, private doubts. He navigates the unfamiliar world of her fame, while she grapples with the vulnerability of exposing her true self. The honeymoon phase was a whirlwind of stolen moments and secret rendezvous. He found himself thrust into a world of paparazzi flashes and red carpet events, a far cry from his quiet life of academia. She, used to the constant scrutiny, was fiercely protective of their newfound intimacy, shielding him from the prying eyes of the media. He navigated the unfamiliar terrain with a mix of awe and apprehension. The glamour of her world both fascinated and intimidated him. He witnessed firsthand the relentless pressure she faced, the constant demand for her attention, the superficiality of the industry she inhabited. She, for the first time, felt truly seen for who she was beyond the fame and fortune. Yet old insecurities lingered. Could someone like him, so genuine and kind, truly love someone as broken and jaded as her? Doubts crept in during the quiet moments, whispering insidious lies in her ear. She pushed him away, retreating behind a wall of aloofness, terrified of letting him see the real her, the one she kept hidden from the world. He, sensing her withdrawal, felt a pang of rejection, his insecurities mirroring her own. The weight of their circumstances, the vast gulf between their worlds, threatened to pull them apart. Could their love survive the glare of the spotlight and the weight of their own internal struggles? Or were they destined to become just another cautionary tale of love lost in the fast lane? Cracks in the facade. Her past traumas and struggles with addiction surface, testing his understanding and patience. He saw glimpses of her pain. Behind the dazzling smile, a flicker of sadness in her eyes. A sudden withdrawal, a shift in mood that he couldn't quite decipher. He longed to understand the darkness that haunted her, to be her safe harbor in the storm. She, in turn, struggled to reconcile her feelings for him with the deep-seated fear of vulnerability. How could she expose the messy truth of her past to someone so pure, so untainted by the darkness she knew so well? The weight of her secrets, the shame and guilt she carried, felt like an insurmountable barrier between them. Her past was a tangled web of toxic relationships, fueled by her own insecurities and the pressures of her demanding career. She had sought solace in fleeting connections, numbing the pain with alcohol and drugs, seeking validation in the wrong places. He, with his naive understanding of addiction and trauma, struggled to comprehend the depths of her pain. He wanted to fix her, to heal her wounds with his love, but the complexities of her past were beyond his grasp. Section 2. Whispers of Doubt. Toxic friends and the pressures of fame sow seeds of discord, driving a wedge between them. Her friends, a glamorous but shallow entourage, viewed him with skepticism. He was an outsider, a threat to their carefully constructed world of parties and superficiality. They whispered doubts in her ear, questioning his motives, fueling her insecurities with their own cynicism. He represented something different, a world she craved but feared. He challenged her to be better, to confront her demons, to break free from the toxic cycle she had become ensnared in. But change was terrifying, and their doubts played on her deepest fears. The pressure of her career, the constant scrutiny of the media, added another layer of complexity to their relationship. Every public outing became a calculated performance, a carefully choreographed dance to appease the insatiable appetite of the gossip columns. He hated the way she transformed under the glare of the spotlight, the mask she donned to hide her true self from the world. He longed for the woman he had fallen in love with, the one who could be vulnerable and real, the one who didn't need to hide behind a facade. Section 3. Clash of Values, Collision of Worlds. Their fundamental differences in lifestyle and expectations lead to a bitter confrontation. The cracks in their relationship widened with each passing day. His attempts to understand her world were met with resistance, her fear of vulnerability pushing him further away. He yearned for authenticity, for a love that transcended the superficiality of her lifestyle. She, accustomed to a world of fleeting connections and superficial charm, struggled to comprehend his need for emotional depth. She mistook his genuine concern for judgment, his desire for intimacy for a threat to her carefully constructed walls. Their arguments escalated, fueled by miscommunication and a fundamental clash of values. He couldn't understand her need for constant validation, her inability to escape the clutches of her toxic friends. She couldn't comprehend his unwavering optimism, his belief that love could conquer all. One fateful night, the tension boiled over. He, pushed to his limit, lashed out, his words laced with frustration and a hint of resentment. She, feeling attacked and misunderstood, retreated further into herself, the chasm between them widening with every harsh word spoken. Section 1. The break. Harsh words and shattered trust leave their relationship hanging by a thread. The fight was explosive. Words, once laced with love and adoration, now dripped with venom. He, blinded by his hurt and frustration, lashed out, his words cutting deep into her already fragile heart. She, accustomed to deflecting genuine emotion with icy retorts, found herself wounded by his pain. "Is this who you really are?" he spat, his voice laced with a bitterness that chilled her to the bone. A carefully curated facade, a collection of likes and empty validation. Each word was a punch to the gut, shattering the illusion of perfection she had so carefully constructed around herself. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring her vision. "You think I choose this life?" she choked out, her voice barely a whisper. The constant scrutiny, the pressure to be someone I'm not. But the words felt hollow even to her own ears. He scoffed, his anger giving way to a weary disappointment that hurt more than any insult. "Then choose me," he pleaded, his voice cracking with the effort it took to hold back his own tears. "Choose us. Choose a love that runs deeper than the surface." But his words fell on deaf ears. In the aftermath of their fight, a heavy silence descended. The air crackled with unspoken words, the weight of their accusations hanging between them like a thick fog. She retreated further into herself, the walls she had so carefully erected slamming shut, shielding her from the pain of his rejection. Section 2. Toxic Whispers, Amplified. Her friends seized the opportunity to isolate her, painting him as the villain. Her phone buzzed with a flurry of notifications. Her friends, ever the loyal audience to her romantic dramas, had been eagerly awaiting the details of the fight. She, seeking solace in their familiar brand of superficial comfort, relayed a carefully edited version of the events, painting herself as the victim of his unreasonable demands. "He's just intimidated by your success," one chimed in, her voice dripping with a syrupy sweetness that masked the venom in her words. "He wants to lock you away, control you, dim your light so he can feel better about his own mediocre life." Another friend, her eyes gleaming with malicious glee, added fuel to the fire. "You're better off without him, babe. He's clearly got some serious issues. Probably couldn't handle a strong, independent woman like you." Their words, though laced with a toxic blend of jealousy and insecurity, offered a perverse comfort. They validated her pain, confirming her deepest fears, that she was unlovable, unworthy of a genuine connection. He was the problem, they assured her, not her own deeply ingrained patterns of self-sabotage. She clung to their words like a lifeline, allowing their poisonous affirmations to drown out the whispers of doubt that lingered in the back of her mind. The truth was a bitter pill to swallow, that she had pushed him away, terrified of the vulnerability he demanded, the depth of emotion he awakened within her. Section 3. Silent Battle. Deafening silence. The weight of their separation bears down as they grapple with their pain in isolation. He deleted her number, blocked her on social media, desperate to erase the constant reminders of their shattered connection. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, heard her laughter, felt the ghost of her touch lingering on his skin. His friends, though sympathetic, urged him to move on. "She wasn't good for you, man," they'd say, their words a well-meaning but hollow attempt to ease his pain. "You deserve someone who chooses you, who fights for you, not someone who runs at the first sign of trouble." He knew they were right, logically, but his heart refused to listen. The connection they had shared, however brief and tumultuous, had shaken him to his core. It had awakened something within him, a longing for a love he had never thought possible. She, surrounded by her entourage of enablers, threw herself into the whirlwind of parties and events, seeking solace in the fleeting distractions of her glamorous life. But the emptiness remained, a gaping hole in her chest that no amount of champagne or superficial conversation could fill. Their separation was a deafening silence, punctuated by the echoes of what could have been. Each passing day felt like an eternity, the weight of their unspoken words crushing them both under its immense weight. Section 1. The Silence Speaks. Reflections in Solitude. The silence that followed their separation was not empty, but filled with the echoes of self-reflection. Each alone, they faced the ghosts of their past behaviors and the realities of their personal flaws. He, in the quiet of his apartment, replayed their conversations, each word a clue to understanding where things went wrong. She, amidst the solitude of her room, stripped of its usual crowd, confronted the emptiness that lay beneath her glamorous life. The days stretched long and lonely, but in the quiet, there was space for introspection. He began to see how his idealistic views on love might have clouded his judgment, perhaps expecting too much too soon. She realized her reliance on external validation was a shaky foundation for any relationship, let alone one that had seemed so promising. This period of introspection was painful yet necessary, forging them slowly into more self-aware individuals. In this forced solitude, books and music became their companions, leading them to deeper understandings of themselves. He delved into psychology texts, not just as an academic pursuit, but now as a personal quest. She turned to poetry and memoirs of those who had navigated the treacherous waters of public life and personal turmoil. The arts became a mirror, reflecting their inner worlds, helping articulate feelings previously unexpressed. The silence was a tough teacher, and its lessons were hard-earned. They each had to confront their vulnerabilities, no longer able to hide behind the personas they presented to the world. This period was a crucible, burning away the unnecessary, leaving them each distilled to their essences, more raw perhaps, but also more real. Section 2. Awakening of self-personal growth amidst heartache. As weeks turned into months, the initial sharpness of their heartache dulled into a persistent ache, a reminder of what had been lost, but also of all that could still be gained. For him, the breakup was a catalyst for a journey into self-improvement. He attended workshops on emotional intelligence and vulnerability, environments far removed from the clinical detachment of his academic studies. For her, the change was about subtraction, removing the influences in her life that had led her away from her true self. He learned to temper his idealism with realism, understanding that while love can be transformative, it requires time and patience, and most importantly, mutual growth. She, on the other hand, took steps to reclaim her autonomy, distancing herself from the toxic friends who had long steered her decisions. She started therapy, a place to voice her fears without judgment, and to start unpacking the heavy luggage of her past traumas. This period of growth was not without its relapses. There were days when he felt like reaching out, driven by a lingering hope that maybe things could be different. There were nights when she would scroll through old messages, a pang of regret tightening in her chest. Yet these moments, painful as they were, did not define their journeys. They were merely parts of them. Their paths of personal development, though parallel, were solitary. It was through this individual growth that they began to understand not just themselves, but also each other better. They were learning to build the emotional tools they lacked, the ones that could perhaps one day allow them to bridge the gap between them. Section 3. Rekindling Hope, the Path to Reconciliation. The change was gradual, a slow rekindling of hope as they repaired their bruised spirits. It was during a chilly autumn evening when he penned a letter, not a text or an email, but a handwritten letter filled with his reflections and apologies. In this letter, he acknowledged not just her flaws, but also his own, expressing a desire not just to return to what was, but to move forward to what could be. She received the letter with a mix of surprise and skepticism. The months of silence had cooled her emotions, but here was a reminder of their connection, a connection that, despite everything, had been deeply meaningful. She held the letter for days, unsure of her feelings, until one crisp morning she replied. Her response was cautious yet open, a door left ajar for potential reconciliation. This exchange sparked a series of communications, each more open and honest than the last. They discussed their individual journeys of growth, the lessons learned, and the pain endured. It was through these conversations that they slowly dismantled the walls between them, brick by brick, each letter a step closer to understanding. Finally, they decided to meet. It was in the same park where they had once walked hand in hand, sharing dreams and laughter. This meeting was different, tinged with the wariness of the wounded but also the hope of the healed. They talked not just about what had broken, but also about what had built them anew. This was not merely a reunion, but a new beginning, a second chance informed by self-awareness and mutual respect, a testament to the belief that sometimes love deserves another chapter. Section 1. Reunion, a new beginning. The park held 1,000 memories, their laughter, their whispered secrets, the weight of their fight. It was a crisp autumn day, the leaves a kaleidoscope of color, a bittersweet reminder of time's passage and nature's resilience. They stood, a careful distance apart, their eyes meeting across the familiar landscape, a silent acknowledgement of the shared history etched in their hearts. He looked different, she thought, the boyish naivete replaced by a quiet strength, his eyes reflecting a depth she hadn't noticed before. She, too, had changed. The carefully curated persona was gone, replaced by a raw vulnerability that both scared and excited him. This wasn't a rewind, not a return to what was, but the start of something new, built on the foundation of their shared experience. Their conversation flowed easier this time, no longer burdened by the weight of expectations or the fear of judgment. They spoke of their individual journeys, the stumbles and triumphs, the moments of despair and the glimmers of hope. He listened with an empathy he hadn't possessed before, understanding now that her strength was forged in the fires of her struggles, not in spite of them. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the park, he reached for her hand, his touch tentative, seeking permission rather than demanding possession. She met his gaze, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears, and slowly, hesitantly, intertwined her fingers with his. In that simple gesture, a world of hurt was acknowledged, forgiven, and released. Section 2. Love, Fortified Vulnerability and Trust. Their journey back to each other wasn't a straight line but a winding path, fraught with moments of doubt and the lingering echoes of past hurts. Trust, once shattered, had to be rebuilt, piece by piece, through open communication and consistent actions. He had to learn that her moments of withdrawal weren't personal attacks but ingrained defense mechanisms, remnants of a past that had taught her to protect her heart at all costs. She, in turn, had to learn to trust the sincerity of his love, to see that his patience wasn't weakness but a testament to the depth of his commitment. It was a slow, sometimes painful process, but with each hurdle overcome, their bond grew stronger, fortified by the knowledge that they had weathered the storm together and emerged on the other side, more resilient and connected than before. The walls they had so carefully erected around their hearts began to crumble, replaced by a newfound vulnerability that allowed them to connect on a deeper, more meaningful level. He no longer sought to fix her, understanding now that her strength lay in her ability to heal herself, and offered instead unwavering support and unconditional love. She, in turn, learned to let him in, to share her burdens without fear of judgment, to appreciate the quiet strength of his presence in her life. It was in this space of shared vulnerability that their love found its truest expression, a love built on a foundation of mutual respect, unwavering trust, and the profound understanding that they were stronger together than they could ever be apart. Section 3. Twin Flames, Rekindled, a love story for the digital age. Their story, though unique in its details, resonated with the anxieties and aspirations of a generation raised on a steady diet of curated realities and fleeting connections. They were a testament to the possibility of finding genuine connection amidst the noise and distractions of the digital age, proof that love, though often messy and complicated, could indeed survive the glare of the spotlight and the weight of personal struggles. He, the psychology enthusiast, had learned that sometimes the greatest lessons are found not in textbooks, but in the unpredictable classrooms of the heart. She, the actress accustomed to playing roles, had discovered the transformative power of embracing her authentic self, flaws and all. Their journey was a reminder that love, in its purest form, is not about finding a perfect person, but about seeing an imperfect person perfectly. It's about choosing to love someone through their flaws and celebrating their strengths, supporting their growth and nurturing their dreams. In a world saturated with superficiality and instant gratification, their story offered a beacon of hope, a reminder that true love, though often elusive, is worth fighting for. It's about choosing to see the beauty in the broken, the light in the darkness, and to believe that even amidst the chaos and uncertainty of life, two souls destined to be together will always find their way back to each other.